Hey, welcome to Meet the Crew. Today we're going to talk to Joe B at Brodustrial Light Magic. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been a member of the 501st Legion since November 2015. My very first costume was a TK. That's the original Trilogy Stormtrooper. And it really sort of set off my love for all of this.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into costuming.
Back when I was in college, I remember looking around at some different costumes and all, particularly the Imperial Guard. And yeah, it's a cool one, right? Still haven't done it yet. But I found the Sovereign Protectors forums and everything back then, and I thought this was really cool, but I could just never get into it because of the price. After I had gotten out of college, I'm a teacher, so I've been working for a few years. I found out about this company that does like complete commissions, basically.
And you can name it, RS Props.
RS Props, right.
Good, solid company over in the UK. Right?
Exactly, and it's a beautiful, beautiful kit, and you can get it delivered to you, and you can build it yourself, like we do with so many of our costumes, or you can pay a little bit extra, and they do it for you. And since I had no experience and I didn't know anybody at the time, I decided to just go in, I put in the extra money, and I got back a beautiful Stormtrooper.
Most of us, from back in the day, even when I started in the mid-2000s, it wasn't a lot of people to help you build stuff.
Right.
So we all, like I started with pretty much a already made FX kit for Stormtrooper.
Right.
There really wasn't an option, and there was no problem with getting it, because again, if you don't know what you're doing, you get that,
right.
One, and then from there you go ahead.
Yeah, and I was initially terrified of putting these things together. I didn't know anything about tools, about building, about trimming, about sizing, any of it. But I did figure that once I had something, I could use as a basis and in my mind like reverse engineer it and figure out how it was put together once it was in my hands. So once I did that, and I had that, I joined the Legion, I met everybody. About a year later, I felt like I was ready for my next costume, which I think was the Biker Scout. Yep. And that was a great entry-level costume to get into with soft parts and everything. And then from there, I got into my clones.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, most of us don't have the skills. Nobody's born with skills to just, vacuum form and rivet and put stuff together. And it looks intimidating when you look at the costume and people look at it and say, there's no way I could ever make that. And then you find that it really isn't as hard as you think. Right. You don't have to have any skills at all. You don't have to have pre-existing, building skills or construction skills or nothing, or even arts and crafts skills. It's just stuff that you learn as you go. People like us, we form these little, fun groups and we help each other. Right. But it's funny because, like you said, you took over one of my old costumes, and were so scared to modify it because I'm a lot bigger than you, and so some things had to be done, and you were so hesitant to make those initial cuts. And I remember, we sat down and we looked at it and we're like, just go for it. And then you ended up, now you're like the clone maker in New Jersey. You're Joe B, Camino Joe, Clone Joe. It's the clothes that you've made are fantastic, and even though I've got like 26 or 27 costumes and I don't know, over a dozen years of making stuff, you're here today to help me finish my clone because I'm working on that, and you're better at making clones than I am, and it's just a testament to how really, if you just put your mind to it and just go ahead and try, and just keep trying, and you learn it, and it does come naturally. And some people have easier times with other things. Making the clones, everything's got to be seamless, so it's a lot of bonding and sanding, and you got to be patient, and it's time consuming. And that's something that you naturally have. That's something that I absolutely do not have, which is why it's so. I hate making clones or like the First Order Trooper, which you also just finished, was a nightmare because I hate sanding and sanding and
And
sanding.
even for me, even after all the clones and everything, the first Order Trooper was still a nightmare.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of really unique stuff in that build that's very difficult to do. And it's an interesting thing, too, because all these clones, they were computer animated, whether it was in the films or the television shows and everything. And you have to account for that in the building process. That's why we do special things like we build the spoons into the legs and stuff like that. The First Order Stormtrooper, this was designed for a human being to wear. And when you get all these pieces and you put it all together, you're like, it's a miracle that this thing works at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is. It seems as every movie comes up and as every new character is starting to come out, they're making it more and more complicated. And for us to replicate it exactly, you know, in the building that we do, it's like, sometimes you look at it, you're like, come on.
Exactly.
Disney and Lucasfilm, what are you doing?
And they have such a sleek look and everything, too. They look wonderful once you put them together, but it's a process.
After you put it together, we got to do something with it, right?
Exactly.
So what's your favorite thing about trooping?
My favorite thing about trooping is just meeting excited people. Especially the children and everything. I enjoy working with children anyway. That's why I went into education. But one of the funny things about being a teacher is not all the time do the kids appreciate you. Sometimes you're the enemy.
Yeah. Most times.
Yeah, right? But, you know, here, you can go in, you're dressed up as some of their favorite characters, and they're happy to see you.
Yeah.
You know, you're like a superstar to them.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool thing. And with the adults and the parents, too. You know, even though we're everywhere in the States, so many of them are seeing us for the first time, these parents and other people. And they're blown away, too, because they're seeing something from their childhood. And I think it's just such a cool thing. The staying power that a lot of these costumes and characters have. You're talking more than 40 years for the original Stormtrooper, the original Darth Vader and everything. And they're still so present in society that whether you're an adult or a child, you're instantly recognizable to them.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a cool thing to me.
Yeah, it spans so many generations, and they just, you know, it's really cool. And you meet so many different cool people, and being, you know, our groups are so diverse in like what we do in real life, and you know who we normally would hang out with, and you know this brings us all together, and it's we find out we actually have a lot more in common than just the costume in Star Wars, you know, but we might not have hung out or met each other if that wasn't the beginning catalyst of getting us together. So that's really what's nice about, you know, the Legion and the costuming groups. And again, it's awesome to like pay it forward, and you know you learn a skill and then you come and help out, you know, each other, which is why we kind of coined the Brodustrial Light Magic, you know, informal build group.
Yeah, and it is a cool thing because it really does bring people together. You know, as far as us in this group here and everything, we all come from such different backgrounds, but we all have these unifying interests. But like you said, we wouldn't necessarily have ever met each other if not for this.
Yeah.
And now you have a whole circle of friends, you have a whole circle of people that you can turn to for help, or they can turn to you for help. And it's just such a cool thing. It's its own community.
Yeah.
But it's a community that I feel is very accepting of people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Yep.
It's something that you shouldn't be afraid to be involved in, because everybody that I've ever met doing this is happy to meet new people, happy to help, happy to bring you into the fold.
Yeah, it's a big giant family.
Yeah.
So what's next for Joe B?
Oh boy, you know, it's a great question. I did just get my first 3D printed helmet in the mail the other day for the Kashyyyk Scout Trooper, the camouflage one from Revenge of the Sith. So I'm going to build the helmet, get that done. I don't know if it's going to be a full costume yet, but if I'm happy with it, I might start piecing that together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sitting down and talking to us.
Thank
and
you.
letting everyone know about you. But for now, we better get back to work.
All right.
All right.